Eric was stuffing clothes into a suitcase like the house was on fire. It was 6:41 a.m. I was still in my pajamas, barefoot, clutching a half-drunk cup of coffee when I stepped into our bedroom and saw him, head down, pulling shirts from the closet with mechanical precision. No eye contact, no explanation. Eric. My voice cracked from sleep. What? What are you doing? He didn't look up, just folded one more dress shirt and shoved it into the bag. What's going on? I asked again, louder this time. He zipped the side pocket sharply. What I should have done years ago. The words hit harder than any slap. I took a step forward, my chest tightening. You're leaving? I whispered. Just like that? Eric finally looked at me, and the face I saw didn't belong to the man I'd loved for over 2 decades. It was blank. No guilt, no pain, just cold finality. I'm leaving, Julia. Today. For how long? I don't know. He shrugged. Indefinitely. I reached for his arm. He flinched, then pulled away. Talk to me, Eric. What changed? Was it something I did? He shook his head. This isn't about you. It's about me needing to breathe again. I nearly laughed. We had just discussed our daughter Lena's science fair project over dinner last night. He had kissed my forehead and told me to get some sleep. Nothing in his tone, in his body language, had hinted at this. Where are you even going? I asked, desperate. I'll figure it out. He zipped the suitcase with a final jerk. Then he looked straight at me and said, I need you to transfer my half of the savings to my personal account. That's when the real panic set in. Our savings? I repeated slowly. Eric, we don't split our money like that. Everything's joint. He looked away. Not anymore. I felt ice spread through my chest. I set my coffee down too hard and rushed downstairs, my heart thudding. Our daughter Lena was already at the table eating cereal, backpack by her feet. Mom? She asked, her spoon hovering. You okay? Dad's going on a trip, I said, forcing a tight smile. Just for a bit. I powered on my laptop with shaking fingers, logged into the bank. What I saw made my knees give out. Checking account, $238.74. Savings, $0. Lena's college fund, $0. No, I whispered. No, this can't be right. I hit refresh. Again. It didn't change. Lena looked up slowly. He took it, didn't he? She asked softly. I stared at her. How do you... She gave the faintest smirk and calmly said, Don't worry, Mom. I handled it. I froze. Handled what? And that's when the story really began. Eric left 10 minutes later without saying goodbye to our daughter. He rolled his suitcase through the hallway, past Lena sitting silently at the kitchen table, and didn't look back. Not once. The front door clicked shut so softly it felt unreal. Like the ending to a bad dream that forgot to be loud. I stood in the kitchen, my hands trembling, while Lena continued eating her cereal like nothing had changed. He didn't even say goodbye to you, I whispered. Lena wiped her mouth with a napkin. That's okay. I didn't say goodbye to him either. There was no anger in her voice, just matter-of-fact observation, like she'd made peace with something I couldn't even name yet. That whole week, the house felt unfamiliar. His absence wasn't what haunted me, it was the eerie calm that followed. No yelling, no lies, no footsteps after midnight. Just silence. And Lena, who never flinched. Each morning at exactly 7:15, she came down dressed in her uniform, hair neatly tied, homework tucked in her folder. She packed her lunch, kissed my cheek, and said, Have a good day, Mom. I'd nod, holding back tears, because I wasn't having good days. I was falling apart. Some nights I'd sit in the living room and stare at the framed photos on the wall. Family beach trips, Christmas mornings, all now felt like stills from someone else's life. I'd open our empty savings account online, staring at the zeros until the screen blurred. But Lena didn't crack. She didn't cry, didn't rage. She just carried on. One night around 11:30, I passed by her room to check if she'd fallen asleep. I paused outside her door. I heard it again. That typing. Fast rhythmic keystrokes. Not random. Not the clumsy tapping of a kid playing games. It was deliberate. Focused. Controlled. I tiptoed away. The next day, I called my sister Ava, half hoping for reassurance. She's been eerily calm, I told her. No breakdowns, no questions, no tears. Some kids process shock differently, Ava said. Maybe she's just holding it in. Or maybe she knows more than I think. That evening, I made Lena's favorite dinner, grilled salmon with wild rice and peas. I brought her plate upstairs and knocked gently. "Come in," she said cheerfully. She was seated at her desk, laptop slightly turned away from view. As I entered, I noticed her quickly closed a window. "Dinner," I said, placing the plate on her nightstand. "Thanks, Mom." I glanced at her desk. A neat stack of textbooks, notebook, a planner. Nothing suspicious, yet too perfect, like a display arranged to be looked at but not touched. "What were you working on?" "History. Industrial Revolution." She reopened a document, but not before I caught a flicker of what looked like an email dashboard. "You sure you're okay, sweetie?" "I'm good," she replied calmly. "Just tired." But as I turned to leave, I could feel it. The air was too still, her voice too calm. Something was happening behind that laptop screen, and I wasn't sure I wanted to know what it was. It started with a single sheet of paper, barely visible beneath Lena's science textbook. I hadn't meant to snoop. I was just putting away her clean laundry. But the corner of the page stuck out in a way that caught my eye, and something, instinct maybe, told me to look. What I saw stopped my breath cold. It was a printed email thread between Eric Morgan and someone named Danielle Rivers. I scanned quickly. "Can't wait to be done with Seattle. Julia still doesn't suspect anything. We'll settle in Flagstaff within the month. We'll handle the Lena problem after closing." The Lena problem? I sank onto her bed, the page trembling in my hand. Footsteps. I looked up. Lena was standing in the doorway, her empty water glass in one hand. She froze when she saw what I was holding, but her face didn't twist in panic. She didn't shout or snatch the paper. Instead, she walked in, closed the door quietly behind her, and said, "I figured you'd find that eventually." "Where did this come from, Lena?" She set her glass down. "Dad's not great at online security. His passwords are all the same. I got into his email the week before he left." I opened my mouth to speak, but couldn't form words. "I needed to know what he was planning," she continued. "Once I saw the wire transfer out of my college account, I started digging. My heart was pounding. You've been reading his emails?" "And copying them," she said simply. "Printing the important ones." She walked over to her bed, lifted the mattress slightly, and pulled out a thick spiral-bound notebook. She handed it to me without hesitation. Inside were pages. Dozens. Notes, account numbers, screenshots, maps, names I didn't recognize, even diagrams. "Lena, what is this?" "I call it Project Anchor," she said. "It's everything Dad's done since February. Every lie, every transaction, every person he involved." I flipped to a page labeled Fraudulent Accounts, Linked Ideas, updated 03.02. Underneath were account names tied to my social security number, and Lena's. You hacked your father?" "I didn't hack," she said carefully. "I just followed trails, passwords, cached data. He left everything wide open." My throat was dry. "Honey, this is illegal." "So is identity theft," she said quietly. I looked at her, this 12-year-old child whose eyes now held something I'd never seen before. Not defiance, not fear, resolve. "You knew all this and didn't tell me?" I wanted to be sure, and I needed time to figure out what to do. Lena, this isn't your responsibility. Her voice was firm. He stole my future, Mom. The room was dead silent. My hands clutched her notebook like a lifeline I wasn't ready for. Don't worry, she said, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I've already started fixing it. Lena placed the spiral notebook back under her mattress like it was nothing more than a library book. Then she walked over to her desk, sat down, and opened her laptop with quiet confidence. Come here, she said, like she was inviting me to look at a drawing, not the ruins of our lives. I moved slowly. When I reached her shoulder, she opened a folder titled Project Anchor. Inside were subfolders: financial logs, communication threads, property records, identity trail, countermeasures. Each folder held dozens of files: PDF exports, screenshots, account statements, metadata logs. I've been working on this since I saw Dad checking his second phone at night, Lena explained. He thought I was asleep. Wait, second phone? She nodded. Black case, older model, bottom drawer of his desk. He used it for messages he didn't want you to see. I gripped the back of her chair, dizzy. How do you even know how to... YouTube tutorials and some Reddit forums. Honestly, it's not that hard once you understand cookies, browser cache, and basic credential stuffing. I blinked. Credential stuffing? Lena continued scrolling. 3 weeks before he left, Dad used your name and job information to co-sign a private mortgage application for a house in Flagstaff. She opened a scanned document. There was my name, Julia Morgan, typed beneath a forged signature. He also used my social security number to apply for a personal loan as a secondary dependent. It's part of the reason the college fund was drained. It wasn't just taken. It was used as proof of capital for the down payment. My stomach churned. He was going to disappear with Danielle, Lena continued. They were buying a property under a shell corporation. I traced the title records. The house was being purchased under a name called Blue Rock Holdings. Why would he do all this? To start over. Danielle's in real estate development. She was pitching Dad to investors as a partner in a new luxury condo project. But, Lena clicked again, pulling up a spreadsheet. Danielle has three lawsuits pending for construction fraud and misappropriation of investor funds. What? I gasped. She's been moving money through temporary accounts using client deposits. I cross-checked her LLC against public records. She's facing 2 cease and desist letters. Dad either didn't know or didn't care. I sat on her bed, unable to speak. Lena looked at me calmly. They weren't just running from us. They were running out of time. That's why he acted so fast. He needed the money before everything collapsed. And you've done all this alone? Lena nodded. I couldn't just sit here and let him erase us, Mom. I stared at the files on the screen. The digital aftermath of a father's betrayal, uncovered by a 12-year-old. I haven't told you everything yet, Lena added quietly. My voice trembled. What else is there? She didn't answer. She just opened the next folder. Countermeasures. Lena clicked open the countermeasures folder, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Inside were documents, well-organized, time-stamped, labeled. Fraud reports filed with major credit bureaus. Complaints submitted to the Arizona Real Estate Board. Anonymous tips sent to Danielle's company, her investors, and even the IRS. You did all this? Lena nodded. I waited until I had enough evidence. Then I started submitting things one by one, carefully, strategically. I stared at her. You're 12. She shrugged. They didn't treat me like a child when they stole from me. That night, everything changed. At 7:03 the next morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't pick up. Mrs. Morgan? A woman asked. This is Teresa Delano, Legal Affairs at Harper & Row Financial. I believe your ex-husband was formerly employed here? My chest tightened. Yes, why? He's currently under internal investigation. A whistleblower submitted detailed records of suspicious activity, accounts he accessed, assets he failed to disclose. Some appear tied to your identity. I nearly dropped the phone. Are you saying He used my name? Yes. And a dependent's social security number, which we've now confirmed belongs to your daughter. I gripped the kitchen counter. Oh my God. Your husband was terminated this morning. We're cooperating fully with investigators. You should be hearing from law enforcement soon. I hung up in a daze. Then, barely an hour later, another call came in, this time from a blocked number. I didn't need to check the screen. I already knew. Julia? Eric's voice was frantic. We need to talk. Something's happening. Something really bad. Lena, already dressed for school, walked into the kitchen and sat down with her toast like it was any other Tuesday. What's going on, Eric? I asked, eyes fixed on her. My accounts? They're frozen. Every one of them. My credit cards won't go through. The bank says there's a fraud alert, and Danielle, she lost her job this morning. Her office was cleared out by security. Someone tipped them off. Wow, I said flatly. This doesn't make sense. All our emails, our files, someone's been inside our systems. In front of me, Lena opened her laptop and typed something. A soft chime echoed through the phone. What was that? Eric asked, alarmed. Was that your laptop? I didn't answer. There was a beep. I think someone just accessed my email. Lena's fingers moved with the ease of a pianist. Multiple windows flashed across her screen. Bank data, emails, real-time activity. She's in, I whispered, more to myself than to him. Julia, Eric stammered. This is serious. Someone is impersonating me online. They're sending emails to my boss, my clients, posting documents on social media, real documents. I felt the shift in my chest, not fear, but something sharper, clearer, justice. She warned you, I said quietly. What? She told you not to steal her future. Eric's breath caught. What did you do? But it wasn't me who answered. It was Lena. Lena calmly reached across the table and took the phone from my hand. Hi, Dad, she said like she was starting a polite conversation, not dismantling a man's life. There was a long pause on the other end. Lena, Eric breathed. Sweetheart, thank God. You have to help me. Something awful is happening. Someone's targeting me and Danielle. They're trying to ruin our lives. You mean the lives you built by stealing from us? Lena replied, her voice even, her expression unreadable. Listen to me, he begged. I didn't steal, I borrowed. It was a loan, Lena. We were going to double the money and surprise you. That's what Danielle promised. It was temporary. Lena looked at me for a moment, then back at her laptop screen. You forged Mom's signature on mortgage applications. You used my social security number to open lines of credit. You drained the college fund and used it as down payment for a property in Arizona that's now under federal investigation. Eric's voice cracked. How do you even know that? Because I watched you, Lena said simply. I read every email, saved every file. I know more about your betrayal than you do. There was a stunned silence. Then Eric asked weakly, Why? Lena leaned back in her chair. Because someone had to stop you. Lena, he whispered, I'm still your father. Fathers don't steal from their daughters, she replied. You don't understand the pressure I was under. Danielle's father, he was threatening to pull funding if I couldn't prove myself. She needed that money. So you took mine, Lena cut in. You threw away your family for a woman who wanted you to gamble your child's future to impress her dad. You're 12, he snapped suddenly. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just a kid. No, Lena said. I was your excuse. Now I'm your consequence. Eric's voice was crumbling. Please, whatever you're doing, stop. I'm living in my car. I can't apply for anything. Every credit check gets flagged. Employers won't touch me. I sent your documents to the FTC, Lena replied calmly. Your mortgage lender, your former employer, Danielle's father, the Arizona Attorney General. He gasped. You, what? Actions have consequences, she said again. You taught me that. Then quietly she added, Danielle blocked your number 2 days ago. She's already dating someone new. A guttural sound came through the phone. A whimper. Lena, he choked, I loved you. She paused. Then you shouldn't have treated me like collateral. And she hung up. Lena set the phone gently on the counter, stood up, and walked toward the hallway. He won't call again, she said without looking back. How do you know? I asked, still breathless. She turned her head slightly. Because now he knows. I'm still watching. The silence after Lena hung up the phone was louder than any shouting match we'd ever had in our home. I wanted to cry, scream, breathe. But mostly I just stood there, watching my 12-year-old daughter collect her laptop, walk into her room, and close the door like nothing had happened. That night, I barely slept. I lay awake thinking about the calm in her voice, the cold precision, the fact that while I was breaking down in corners of the house, Lena had been orchestrating the takedown of 2 grown adults without blinking. By morning, I'd made a decision. I called our pediatrician and explained everything, or at least enough of it to raise concern. Dr. Kim recommended a child psychologist named Dr. Angela Bloom, who specialized in trauma and high-functioning adolescents. She might not show signs of trauma traditionally, Dr. Kim warned, but that doesn't mean she isn't carrying the weight. Lena didn't object when I told her. She just nodded and asked, will it be after school? When we arrived at Dr. Bloom's office 2 days later, I expected some resistance, maybe a flicker of nervousness, but Lena walked in like she was attending a board meeting. Polite, poised, purposeful. Hi, I'm Lena Morgan. I believe you'd like to discuss what I did to my father. Dr. Bloom blinked, clearly taken off guard. That's certainly a place to start. For the next 45 minutes, I waited in the lobby with my foot bouncing and my heart pounding. When the door finally opened, Dr. Bloom asked me to come in alone. She closed the door behind us and sat down across from me with careful calm. Mrs. Morgan, your daughter is extraordinary. I let out a breath. Is she okay? She's more than okay. She's functioning at a level of emotional and cognitive processing I rarely see even in teenagers. But is that healthy? I asked. She dismantled her father's life without flinching. Dr. Bloom tilted her head. Lena views this as justice, not revenge. She knows what he did was wrong. She knew no one else would protect her, so she protected herself. She didn't even cry, I whispered. Gifted children often intellectualize trauma. They don't fall apart, they take control. That doesn't make them cold, it makes them resilient. I swallowed the lump in my throat. So, she's not broken? No, Dr. Bloom said gently. But she's different now. She'll never be the same child she was before this. That evening, I found Lena in her room writing furiously. On her screen was a Word document titled Digital Protection for Families, How to Spot Financial Abuse Early. You're writing a guide? I asked. Lena looked up. No, I'm writing a shield for the next kid who gets betrayed. And I realized this wasn't just about us anymore. She was already reaching for the world. Spring arrived quietly in Seattle. Warm light through thin windows, the sound of birds again, and a strange feeling I hadn't recognized in months. Peace. Lena's guide on family digital protection, originally a personal project, was now being shared across online parent forums and education networks. One school counselor in Portland reached out, then another in Chicago. Within a month, her PDF had been downloaded over 12,000 times. Then came the email. A cybersecurity nonprofit based in San Francisco had somehow traced the anonymous EM author behind the guide. They wanted to offer Lena a place in their Youth Ethical Tech Mentorship Program. Full scholarship to any future college, yearly stipend, guaranteed internship at 16. Lena, I gasped after reading the email. This could change your life. She read it carefully, then closed the laptop. I'm turning it down. What? Why? They want to brand me. Turn what I made into a product with their logo on it. But that's not what this is for. I blinked. What is it for? She opened a second document. A spreadsheet, client names, recovery progress, consultation hours. I've been helping families online. Quietly. Some pay me, most don't. It's not a business, it's a mission. I stared at the header. Lena Morgan, private financial recovery consultant, 12 families, 3 continents, one 12-year-old. You're consulting? Legally? I never touch their systems, she said. I teach them how to report, track, file fraud complaints, freeze accounts. Everything we learned. The hard way. Lena, I whispered, unsure whether to cry or applaud. She just smiled. I'm working on a nonprofit structure. Once I'm 16, I'll file the papers myself. A week later, I overheard her on a video call. You're not alone, she was saying to a teenage boy. Just because your mom emptied your trust fund doesn't mean she gets to control your future. Her voice was gentle, focused, calm. She was becoming the voice she wished she had when everything collapsed. That night, after dinner, I asked her something I'd been afraid to say aloud. Do you think he regrets it? What your dad did? She paused, drying a plate at the sink. No, I think he regrets getting caught, but not doing it. I nodded slowly. And you? Do you ever miss him? I miss the version of him that never existed, she said quietly, but I don't miss who he really was. Before bed, she turned to me. Are you proud of me, Mom? I knelt to meet her eyes. Lena, I'm in awe of you. She smiled, finally soft again. Good, because I still have homework. She walked off toward her room, just a kid again, backpack swaying, bare feet padding across old wooden floors. But I knew the truth. The world had tried to break her. Instead, she built something stronger, for herself and for everyone else like her. Moral of the story, betrayal doesn't have to define us. It can reveal our strength, ignite our purpose, and shape us into protectors. Sometimes the smallest voice carries the clearest justice.